Hello everybody. So, we will continue in our discussion with business benefits of ERP or SAP rather. As I have been talking about these benefits for some time, because again since as I was telling you that it is a very important thing, this SAP or ERP, and of course it is expensive. I did never say it is very cheap. So, it is always expensive and difficult to implement. Also, it is not very easy. It's a bit difficult to implement and stuff like that. Focusing on benefits is very important. So, why taking so much of effort and so much of money, why is it is justified? So, you have to justify. So, as a IT manager, a future manager of MIS for example, in a system, you need to be convinced that when I am going for such a complex and important thing. So, first thing, it's very important, very useful, very essential. I mean, it's absolutely probably essential. But then you need to take guard and you need to understand what are the risks, which we will discuss subsequently, and what are the risks, what are the dangers, what are the pitfalls. But first you should know what are the benefits, various benefits. So, go step by step by step. So, when you are talking to your customers, like I said, your customer means your other functional counterparts like your production manager, finance, mainly the finance manager, the person who really want to convince, or your materials manager, etc. When you can explain to them properly, so these are the benefits, and that is why it is very important that we must have it, and it is your benefit, it is not my benefit, it is not the IT department's benefit, it is your, we are doing it for your. So, that is the main thing. Say that it is a business program, this is not an IT program, it is not an IT program, it is nothing to do with IT, it is entirely a business maneuver, it is a business thing, it should be led by business people also. All the requirements will come from the business side, they will design, they will plan, they will implement. In fact, most of the people, the functional resources which will come from the consultant side and from the your industry will be all, they are not computer people, they are not programmers, none of them are programmers, they will be all functional experts, business process experts, the process knowledge, they know the process knowledge. They know there will be finance guys, there will be materials management guys, there will be the supply chain guys, the procurement guys, the production planning guys, the planning guys, the sales and marketing functionalities, the guys, they are not technical programmers, they are not Java programmers or Microsoft .NET programmers or ASP, SQL programmers, etc., etc. They are not anyway. We need ABAP programmers, we need some programmers when we do the customization, making of reports, etc., etc. Plus, we need some system administrators, which is known as basis skill in SAP terminology. So, the system administrators, they they implement the software actually into the server, and they maintain the server, taking backup, etc., etc., sending the transport request, etc. So, a lot of IT work goes in. Obviously, you have to have complex software running on multiple softwares, servers, and even nowadays it is all running on cloud. So, plenty of IT inputs are required in terms of system management, system administration, and of course, coding, because you have to do some modifications and some reports. But more than 80% of the effort of the work is non-IT, it is functional, it is from the business. So, those people, they are not the IT, they are not coders. So, that is almost about 80% of the entire effort. So, you can imagine the significance, why I am saying repeatedly that it is a business. Think from the business angle, do not think from the IT angle. If you think from the IT angle, you will have a very different perspective and not the right perspective. So, if you want to get the real right perspective of a ERP system or ERP software, think from the business perspective, think about that 80% thing which I was referring to. So, the impacts of ERP implementation. ERP will impact communication and information domain, leadership and authority, business processes, best practices, company policies, jobs and rewards, company structure and culture, skills and knowledge of employees. So, you see so many areas it will impact. It starts from communication and information, because that is the basis we are talking about, information sharing, communication, leadership and authority. Even leadership and authority gets impacted, because now things become more transparent. So, you do not have to depend on somebody, a CFO, when he will give me the communication, then I will come to know. No, because it is all online, it is available. So, I have information on a real time basis. So it's now the leadership style will change, the authority, how it flows, things will change, because there is a lot of change in roles and responsibilities happens after things like ERP products like ERPs are used. Business process we have talked a lot, best practices also we have discussed quite a lot. Company policies, again it's a factor of all of the above. So jobs and rewards, for example, because your roles will change, your skill sets will change. So your jobs and rewards also need to change, because your person who was doing work previously before ERP, the way he was doing, he will be now be doing it in a different way, because the processes have changed. Then he will be working on IT system, he will be working on things which are all real time, online, etc., etc. So all his job responsibilities, they change, and so he has to be retrained, reskilled. And when you retrain and reskill a person, of course the job definition will change and his rewards, etc. will also. So a lot of HR activities changes also happen in the HR domain. Company structure and culture gets impacted very much, because now things are very transparent, online, real time. These have got direct impact on the culture of a company. And then the company structure also, we can now become more flexible, you can have less hierarchical levels, etc., because the decision making pattern changes, the way decision is now happening, taking place, the functional silos, etc. Once you break down the walls, you can restructure it, make it less complicated, maybe not too many levels, the hierarchical levels. So we call flattening the organization. So instead of that sharp pyramid, we can make it more flatter. Skills and knowledge of employees, of course, will change, because now you are using a very sophisticated software, computer. You are all have to become computer savvy, basic things. So your skills and knowledge, of course, will change. How the organization uses ERP. So you have the central database, and then you have the major functionalities on all the four sides: finance and accounting, sales and marketing, manufacturing, purchasing and materials. So I am considering for my lectures mostly these four major functions, of course, but I have told you repeatedly other areas are also very much involved: HR, quality management, plant maintenance, service management, warehouse management, you name it. Any other functionalities are also part of ERP, but we cannot have so many of these, and the slides will become very complicated. So let's stick to the four major functional areas, the common ones: finance, purchase, manufacturing, and sales. And how they use ERP. So the finance, we start cash in hand, accounts receivable, customer credit, sales revenue. These are various accounting functionalities, and all of them are, this is just I am listing a few, of course there are plenty of others. So and they are using it in ERP. Now if you move on to sales and marketing on the left, pricing and rebates, sales planning, delivery dates, sales returns. So all of these activities and sub activities, they are using ERP, they are going to SAP ERP for all of these, and there are much more. So these I have just listed a few of the common ones. Manufacturing, production planning, quality assurance, order fulfillment. So the major sub areas of manufacturing, which is they are going to use in ERP. Purchasing and materials, I mean inventory, the stock, they see always, that's the most important thing they need to monitor, because it should not fall short, there should not be any shortage, also there should not be a lot of excess inventory. So we know the problem of excess inventory, and we also know if there is a shortage, then the production will come to a halt. So the customer's commitment will not be met. So that's the other extreme of the problem. So you have problem on both sides. So managing the right inventory is one of the major challenges for the purchasing and materials department. So they keep continuously monitoring inventory. The pending delivery from vendor, delivery, pending delivery, when it is coming. Then open purchase orders, and then vendor rating, etc. So these are the various different functionalities which are being used by our major four departments. So that is I just listed a few for your benefit. Of course, there is a whole list, you will get it in the textbooks of various functionalities which you can cover, but this is adequate for your understanding. Now just an example, to give you an example of one of the process, an order invoicing process. So you have say a purchase order entry. So you create a purchase order for a particular component or raw material you need from your supplier or vendor. What happens is materials requirement planning. Now this MRP is not what we were talking about when we were talking about the history of ERP. So that was the only original thing, but fundamentally very similar. This is a program inbuilt within SAP. It's called materials requirement planning. Same functionality, as I said, is very similar, nothing very different, but now it's not a different product. So it's a part of one of the program run in SAP program, the planning department, product planning. So when there is a new order comes, sales order, you run a materials requirement planning. So when you do a materials requirement planning, it will say, no, I need, say, like we were saying the example of a car, for example. So a car will need 100 car will need 500 wheels, or let's say the batteries will need 100 batteries, one battery per car. So it will create a purchase order. First it will create a purchase requisition, then it will create a purchase order on, say, one battery company, say example is Exide. So please deliver 100 batteries by such and such date. Two things are important, the number and the date, and of course the model number, etc., etc. Now once the battery comes, purchase order entry is made, battery is supplied, and then it goes to manufacturing. So the input on the top you see is here the supplier is supplying that 100 battery here. 100 battery comes in for manufacturing. Now once the manufacturing is over, the car is ready, so it goes to delivery. So it goes to your finished good stock. So the cars are ready, they are ready for delivery. And delivery means it has to be supplied to the customer. The customer is here, he gets the car, or the dealers. Basically, a customer for a car company, automobile like Maruti will be the dealers, because we buy it from the dealer, the individual. So dealer is actually the customer for Maruti, so they are getting their cars, supplier. When those 100 cars are supplied to the dealers, the Maruti is raising an invoice. Say there is a dealer in Calcutta who is getting, say, out of that 100 maybe he is getting 20 cars coming to Calcutta, another 20 going to Bombay, 40 going to Madras or something like that. So when the invoice is raised for 20 cars on that dealer, then it becomes something called a accounts receivable. This is a typical accounting terminology. So for that car manufacturing company, let's say if it is Maruti, the 100 cars have been distributed, say, all over India. So 20 has come to Calcutta, 40 has gone to Mumbai, etc., etc. So for each of them, for the 20 car or 40 car, there is an invoice has been raised, and that invoicing becomes an accounts receivable. That is, say the cost of a car is, say, 5 lakhs. So 20 cars is, say, 100 lakhs. So there is an invoice for 100 lakhs, so it becomes an accounts receivable. So this is an order invoicing process. It's not the complete process, it's a part of the process, order invoicing. So from purchase order to the accounts receivable. So the finance department, the books of the finance department, it will show that I am expected to get 100 lakhs money from my Calcutta dealer. That is my accounts receivable. When they actually give the money, then that account gets closed, because it gets credited with that 100 lakhs. So the receivable gets closed because the 100 lakhs has been received. So that is when the process actually ends. But this particular process shows how it operates between a purchase order and a accounts receivable. So that is a cycle, or maybe a portion of the cycle. And this is an example to understand how the whole thing works in that SAP system. Now there is another process, let's say the sales order inquiry process flow. I had shown you this picture earlier in my previous section, but here I will talk in details on this. See what this picture talks about is, it's a very interesting slide here. So you have this lady here is a sales manager or a sales officer, whatever. Say battery, again let's take the example of Exide battery. She works for Exide, and a sales office may be sitting in a sales office in, say, Lucknow in UP. And she is operating from the Lucknow sales office. The Lucknow dealer by Exide battery, the dealer calls her up over phone. She gets a call that I want 100 battery of this Maruti. There's a batteries for different cars. So Maruti car needs certain battery. I need 100 of them. When can you give it to me? I need very urgently. Now this lady, what she does, she logs into her SAP screen and then starts, doing a lot of things. So what happens? It starts with request from a customer, that is a phone call she received. So that's a SD. SD means sales and distribution. That's a sales function in ERP, in SAP. So he gets a customer's call, dealer's call. I want 100 batteries. That's a sales call. Now what the first thing she does is she goes and does a credit check, credit management. That's a finance function. What she does, she checks the credit limit of this particular dealer. Has he paid, because every sales in a commercial, it works on credit, nobody pays cash immediately on delivery. So you get a material, then you have a credit days, maybe 15 days or 30 days within which you will have to release your payment. So this varies from product to product, varies from company to company, but there has to be some credit days. Now she goes and checks that this dealer, has he paid up his previous order, which was say whatever quantity and so much money was spending. It could be yes, it could be no. If it is yes, then it's fine. She is happy that yes, no overdues are there with the customer. But if it is no, he has not paid up, then she will tell him that your past 50 lakhs or whatever 10 lakhs is pending, please release the check and I will process your order. So she has all the information. See, this is the finance function. She is a sales officer sitting in Lucknow. The head office is in Calcutta, Exide. That she doesn't talk to him. She's still talking to on the phone. She just received a call from and holding the phone, she goes to a screen and checks. Hey man, your 10 lakhs is outstanding. Can you send me the check by today evening? Then I will process your order. Then now it's up to the dealer. If he wants the battery very urgently, he will release his check. So fine. So this is how credit management works. That's a finance function, and that's the first thing she does. Now suppose the dealer says yes, okay, I'll send the check in 2 hours time. You process my order because it's very urgent. Customers are waiting. Now she does something called an availability check. What she does? She goes into the screen and checks how much stock do we have this battery and where. So that's a materials management function. And she finds out that out of that 100 requirement, maybe in her own stock there are about 10. There are 50 material are available in the warehouse, go down in Lucknow, and balance 40 probably is available in the factory in Haldia, for example. Exide is a factory in Haldia near Calcutta. So that's the nearest factory from Lucknow. Or maybe all 40 is not available, so maybe 20 or 10 are available and the rest are under manufacturing. So what she needs to now go to the shop floor status. She goes to the production planning module, PP module OSD, or she doesn't go to a module, she just checks the stock in transit or whatever under manufacturing. And there she comes to know that 40 material will be ready in another 3 days time or another 1 week's time. It's under manufacturing, it will take another 1 week to get that 40. Because so many customers are ordering batteries from Exide. So she can book only 40 to get in 7 days time. So that is her whatever status. And she checks also goods in transit, whether anything is in transit, warehouse management module. That's a warehouse management module. Anything is being shipped from currently Haldia to say their warehouse is in Mughalsarai or somewhere near Lucknow. She checks all that, and then she tells her customer, now this all thing is happening over phone, he is holding on the phone, and everything is done in almost maybe just 5 or 6 or 10 minutes of time, or maybe she just calls back after 10 minutes and tells the customer, see, I have got 10 batteries with me, you will get it today. After I get your check, then I will release this 10. Another 50 are lying in my warehouse in Mughalsarai. I will get it by tomorrow, because Mughalsarai to Lucknow I can get it. I will release the order today and I will get it tomorrow. All that I will do after I get your check, she will keep saying. So once I get your check, I will release the order on Mughalsarai warehouse. So they will deliver 50 tomorrow. So you get 10 today evening, 50 tomorrow evening. The balance 40 is under manufacturing, which will take 7 days of time. 4 days in the factory and then another 2-3 days by transport, shipment to coming from Haldia to Lucknow. So in another 7 days time, you will get another 40. Are you okay with this? So 10 battery today, 50 tomorrow, and another balance 40 7 days later. And if the person says yes, then she can confirm the order. She confirms all the order, price and date. So this is an SD functionality, sales and distribution. And then finally, when she books the order, what happens? That 100 batteries, and the batteries say cost 1000 rupees each, or maybe 2000 rupees each. So that 100 batteries means 2 lakhs. So that 2 lakhs rupees becomes a cash forecast as soon as she books the order. So suppose that delivery date credit term is 15 days. So, the cash forecast means the day the customer receives 10, 50 and 40, for each of these days you add 15 days and accordingly so much of value comes to as a cash forecast, which is a finance function. So, the finance manager comes to know, accounts department, the finance department comes to know that this is my cash forecast. So, that if you add 15 days, that on that particular date I am supposed to get so much money from this particular supplier. Because see, everybody is managing his or her own resources. The finance department is continuously managing how much cash flow is taking place into the company, how much money is coming in, because he has to again cash outflow. It's always every day a company is receiving cash and company is giving cash. It's giving payment, paying to suppliers, paying electricity bills, utility expenses, employee salaries, etc., etc. So, there is outflow of cash and supplier payment is happening almost every day. Those other payments can have say periodic, like salary is given every month, etc., etc. So, the finance department is continuously monitoring what sort of cash I am receiving every day because my every sale. So that for him it becomes information that he knows that on such and such date this will be my cash position, cash balance. Extremely important for the finance department to monitor cash position, cash balance on a daily basis. So, I just gave you one example of a order inquiry process how SAP or ERP works. See, one person, a sales officer or sales manager sitting in one office somewhere who is a sales person, but he or she is touching upon so many functionalities of SAP or the business, not SAP, the business, from SD, sales and distribution, to finance, to materials management, to production planning, to warehouse management, to sales and distribution, and finally finance. See, finally everything has to end in a finance, because end of the day, it's all some account is getting credited and some account is getting debited. Some money exchange has to have value. So, that is how the whole business thing runs. Everywhere finally it's a money value thing. So, all process will end somehow in finance. And all of this she can do in just about 10 or maybe 15 minutes of time and without talking to anybody. She just gets a call from her customer, a dealer. She does not call up our factory, she does not call up our warehouse in Mughal Sarai, the warehouse manager, she does not call up our head office in Calcutta, the finance department, anybody. She does not talk to anybody. She does not have to waste any time, because when you call up, the person may be available, not available, busy in a meeting, so many things can happen. And it gets delayed, okay, you called me, I am busy in a meeting, can you call me after 1 hour? So, in the next 1 hour she can't do anything, because the other person has to give him that information what she needs. But here all the information is at her fingertip. Literally, when you are punching in your keyboard, it is your fingertip, tip of your finger you are using to punch your keyboard, and that is how you are getting your information. You do not have to depend on any human being for information. And that is the power of ERP, that is the power of SAP, and that is what whole managing information system is all about. This is the essence which you need to learn, to appreciate. The beauty, the power, the strength of SAP, of ERP, and why it is so important for running a business. You cannot run a business without this. Could you realize when I was telling you all this, how things are so easy, how smooth. So, when you have information, you have power. She has so much of power. When a customer calls up, can you give me 100 batteries, say whatever, as soon as possible. She said, just hold on, wait for 10 minutes, I will give you a call back right in 10 minutes and I will tell you the position. By date, when I can give you the batteries. And after 10 minutes, she calls up and tells him, yes, today you get 10, tomorrow you get another 50, and 7 days later you get another 40. That's your 100. Is that good enough for you? Okay, then fine, I am closing the deal. And you clear my payment, last order payment. So, everything is being taken care of. Impacts of a good receipts transaction. So, another process, goods receipt, something comes in a factory and you are receiving a good. What happens? A simple good receipts transaction can trigger several activities. Stock and value of inventory get updated. So, as soon as you receive the stock, your value of inventory, total inventory value of the company goes up. because that so much of value, say whatever, the 100 piece came and the worth is 10 lakhs. So your total valuation of the company goes up by 10 lakhs. We added so much of inventory. And of course the stock, the number. Then inspection lot gets created to trigger a quality inspection. So automatically an inspection, this is what the entry, the gate, the security officer has done, entered. Supplier such and such, quantity such and such, item such and such, etc., date, time. The value of the whole company goes up, whole company, because the inventory value has gone up. An inspection lot gets created to trigger a quality inspection. The quality person on his screen says there is an inspection pending. If he sees this pending work, you will see one pending inspection, 100 quantity of such as arrived, it is pending for him. So now he has to get into his job, go to the stores and do the inspection. Stock and consumption account updated. So this is the accounting terminology. So your stock account gets updated by value, and consumption account also gets updated. So these are all again accounting, general ledger terminologies, consumption account, because that material will have to be consumed. So that account gets updated. Purchase order history gets updated. Now you are regularly buying some material from that particular vendor, this material. So your history, there is a history, because you want to analyze, you want to evaluate your vendor. How good is he, how timely delivery he gives, the quality of his product, whether there is any rejection, whether it's 100% accurate or 90% quality or 10%, whatever, 5%. So that way you evaluate, because you have got multiple vendors for a particular item. Like Maruti is getting battery from many vendors, Excite is one of them. So there are 3 or 4 battery manufacturing companies. So they get continuously evaluated, and there are various utilities for that, which again probably I will talk later. A transfer request is created to move the goods to the warehouse. So after the quality check, then there will be a transfer request. So it has to move to the warehouse or the store from the gate, security gate. So then a transfer request, so that is a document which is created in the system. And then vendor evaluation process gets initiated, that I already also explained slightly before. So that's another process which gets initiated. Purchase department will now evaluate the vendor based on the timeliness of the delivery. The purchase order said the date on etc. when it was delivered. So did he deliver on time, the same date or a later date, etc. And then after the quality inspection, they will also add whether all 100% is okay or whatever. So his vendor rating gets changed. So many activities gets triggered from a single transaction. A goods receipt, i.e. the company at the gate has received so much material. So all this is happening automatically, and SAP and ERP is doing it. So this is where how that thing is working, all the transactions happening, and each of the transactions are generating data and information. The data was, when did it come? Date. The data was how many of the items got approved by quality, that number, that is data. What is information? What is the vendor's evaluation quality, vendor evaluation report, or the purchase order history gets updated. So that is an information. This vendor delivered this time on time and all 100% got approved. So he gets an A rating. Otherwise he would have got say, suppose he delivered 1 day late, so maybe he gets a B rating, or maybe he delivered on time but then 10% of the 10 items got rejected. So quality was problem. So he gets B rating, or maybe more items got rejected, so he gets a C rating. So we rate vendors A, B, C. So when you get an A rating means what? Next time when you get an order, you will get more quantity quota arrangements. You will get more order quantity. Customer will rely you on more because you deliver on time and you deliver the right thing. So if I have 4 or 5 vendors, I will give more percentage to you. So that is why this vendor evaluation is so important. So that is information. So you need to know where is the data and what is the data and what is the information. It's all being handled by a central system. So areas of performance improvement through ERP. So revenue generation is ability to service new market segments, increased asset utilization and capacity through better planning, redeploying workforce into higher value added roles, broader product offering. These are very generic advantages, and performance improvement in various areas. So, these are some samples. I have selected few areas, 4. I will quickly run through. There is not much to explain, very it will understandable by themselves. So, one is revenue generation gets impacted. I mean, it's an area of improvement when you use SAP, etc., ERP. Cost reduction, that is the main thing we started with, inventory cost, etc., etc. Reducing working capital requirements, I have explained that. Better supplier management, global centralized purchasing using strategic sourcing with leveraged procurement spend, and shared services in purchase, HR and other general functions. These are things which I will talk later, shared services and global centralized. When you have a multinational company and you have say common item you are purchased in say several countries, or if in a country you have many factories across the country and you have a centrally purchased. So, the main item is bought by a central purchase team from a vendor and then distributed to different factories. So, you can now then leverage your weight, because now you can do everything online. So, you can place a bulk order on a supplier and he will distribute to the various factories. So, then you can get lot of price advantage. So, you can save lot of cost because you are buying at a bulk. Strategic positioning, better information to run the business. So, it's all information as I said, real time decision support system, strong and flexible foundation to support the future growth, seamless the IT platform, that's it has everything, all knowledge and information is available in that IT platform. So, that supports your growth. Improved supply chain integration with vendors, customers, ERP system, I have explained again with the Tata Motors example. Standardized processes across divisions, this is very important for global and multinational organizations where you have multiple companies working together. So, you need to have standardized business processes. Ability to move more easily, operate as a single business, again the same thing. I mean, if you are using a same single software platform, you are actually working like a single business, although you are different companies of the same say group, for example, or in different companies, different countries, but you can literally work seamlessly as a single business. Better employee productivity, you have seen how productivity is impacted positively when you are using such softwares, and better employee satisfaction through job enrichment. Improved customer satisfaction I have discussed earlier also, reduced cycle time, more accurate availability and delivery info, your information, single face to the customer for sales, status and service. That single face example I gave you about that sales lady working in from Lucknow handling dealers. Quicker response to contract and order changes explained, and ATP is availability to promise. So, products can be booked for specific customers. So, you can book by specific for customers, I need so much quantity, like that thing she was saying for the Haldia, I will book your 40 quantity from the factory to be delivered within 7 days, provided you confirm. Once you confirm, those will be booked, and no other can be delivered to no other party, it will be exclusively for you. So, that is another functionality called availability to promise, and with that we end this session, and thank you very much.